Okay. All right.
Jeremy, do you want to go ahead and want me to get started, or do you want to wait a few minutes to let more people join?
I'm not sure how to see.
We got 13 attendees so far. I'm watching it build on the.
Oh, I see that now too. Yeah, we're up to 20.
Let's let that stabilize.
Where are you seeing that?
At the
Oh,
bottom.
I see. Got it. Got it. Yep. 29. Okay. Perfect. 30. Thank you for joining. We're going to wait here just for a moment as more and more people join, because we've got more people that are registered than have joined us yet. And there's some chats going on. Let's see. Hi, everyone. Tim, the beard looks great. That's from Mike Christie. And Angelina's saying, hello, everyone. Hi, Angelina. Hi, Mike Christie.
Oh, the
We've got
chat.
30 people.
Okay.
Yep. We learn this as we
Yeah,
go.
we're all new to this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. I'm going to type in here. We will start in 45 seconds.
Jeremy, you just let me know when you want me to start.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much, Tim. Well, with up to 31, give it another 30 seconds and we will launch this thing. I mean, we're launched, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
This is a new first for GSLBAA. Hey, Steve Hadley, how are you? There's Jessica. Hi, Jessica. All right, folks. This is the first Greater St. Louis Business Aviation Association webinar. This is a virtual luncheon meeting, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, as we've all been subjected to that. So Missouri is somewhat open, but there's restrictions on the number of participants that can gather in one place. So we've decided to, like many other organizations, to go ahead and use technology to our advantage and actually have this virtual luncheon with a presentation. Bear with us. We're all learning this technology. I think every one of us that's on this webinar, either as speakers or invited guests, are, or registered guests, I should say, have been using technology over the past 2.5 months, but it's still not intuitive for me, and I'm sure possibly not for you either. So bear with us with this, but I'm going to hand it over to our president, Tim Long.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Tim Long, president of the Greater St. Louis Business Aviation Association. Welcome to our first virtual meeting. I'm the director of operations for Wings of Hope, and I want to thank Jeremy for putting this on. So we're going to have an interesting panel discussion regarding aircraft sales during COVID. 2 quick announcements, and I'll turn it back over to Jeremy. We still have our trivia night scheduled for Saturday, August 29th at CBC High School, and we did reschedule the GSLBAA Ammo Golf Tournament. The current date is September 23rd at Old Hickory and St. Peter's, so hopefully we'll be able to have both of those events this year. So thank you for joining us, and I'll turn it back to Jeremy.
Thank you, Tim. All right, so we're very lucky today because we've got Tom Crow, Peter Zudicum, and Jim Swaler that are here to talk about aircraft values, as well as myself. So I'm going to actually kick this off. Obviously, the topic is the effect of COVID-19 and the lockdowns on aircraft values. Jim is actually going to talk about pre-buys, because he's not on the front line of buying and selling, but he's very much on the front line for aircraft transactions, because as you all know, Westar is a large company with multiple facilities around the country, and he gets to see how many pre-buys come through his door. So that's going to be interesting, but I'm going to kick it off and just give you a little bit of background. I think everybody on here knows me, but you may not have known me as as an appraiser. And basically, I started appraising aircraft when I was invited to join Jet Brokers in 1999. And my first appraisals were to support either a listing or a sale. Basically, what will I get for my aircraft if I sell it, or how much will I have to pay for this specific aircraft if I buy one? Soon I had banks coming to me and asking me to appraise aircraft in support of a loan, and also had executives and attorneys coming to me for the aircraft value and legal proceedings. So I've been asked to be an expert witness, giving value opinions under oath. I got accredited as an appraiser in 2014. I actually went through the 24-month program of the National Aircraft Appraisers Association, which is now defunct. So I went through the Embry-Riddle Aviation University American Society of Appraisers Aircraft Appraisal Program, and decided that I'd had 19 and a half years, great times with Tom Kroll at Jet Brokers. So I figured it was time to leave, because I really had found my passion, which was appraising airplanes. So I left in January 2019, started Jet Values Jeremy, and here I am. So last year I did 54 airplanes, 20 of which were full on-site audits and evaluations, including a trip to La Paz, Bolivia, which was kind of cool. There was a mining company that had a 146-200, the big 4-engine high-wing airliner. Also got to appraise the world's rarest business jet, the McDonnell 119-220, which was built here in St. Louis. There's only one in existence. It's sitting out in El Paso on the ramp, and the gentleman wants to donate the airplane. I also did the Wolf of Wall Street's flying boat. He had a Seawind 3000 gas turbine powered flying boat that he kept on his yacht. Fortunately, it wasn't on the yacht when his yacht sank off Sardinia in the Mediterranean, if you've seen the film. This year I've done 39 airplanes. I haven't traveled anywhere because of COVID. So that's it. So I'm going to get right into values. There are more than 440,000 general aviation aircraft operating worldwide, half of these based here in the USA and a third in Europe. Approximately 39,000 are turbine business aircraft and 32,000 are helicopters. The world's most prolific light aircraft is the Cessna 172, with more than 44,000 individual aircraft built. A 2020 172S is right at 400,000 US dollars. Everything's going to be in US dollars, by the way. The average price of all 172s, if you lump them all together, is about $95,000. So you can say the residual value is approximately 25%. And I see that the lighter airplanes, specifically the 172, but many other light aircraft, the values are trending upward. The Boeing 737 is the most prolific large aircraft with almost 11,000 individual aircraft built. A 2020 B737 MAX is somewhere around 50 million. I mean, the list price, I think, is like 51 and some change, but the airlines don't pay list price for their airplanes, so it's almost impossible to say how much a 737 MAX is today. The average price of all 737s, excluding the BBJ series, is about 10 million bucks. So the residual value is approximately 20%. And I have to say, values are trending down. This is a surprise. It was a surprise to me when I did this research. The MIL Mi-8 HIP is the most prolific helicopter with almost 18,000 individual aircraft built. So they're built today. A 2020 Mi-8 is 12 million US. The average price is about 4 million. So the residual value is approximately above 30%, and values are stable. The King Air is the most prolific turboprop with more than 4,000 individual aircraft built. A 2020 King Air 350i is 7 million. The average price of all King Airs lumped together is about 3 million. So the residual value is approximately above 40%, and values are stable. The Citation Series, this is the most prolific business jet series with almost 7,000 individual aircraft built. A 2020 Citation Longitude is 22 million. The average price of all Citations lumped together is about 2.25 million. So the residual value is approximately above 40% and values are trending upward. The world's most popular turboprop is the Cessna Caravan series with almost 2,500 operating worldwide. A 2020 Grand Caravan EX is 2.7 million. The average price is about 1.3, so the residual value is almost 50% and values are trending upward. The most popular single model business jet, believe it or not, is the Gulfstream G550 with almost 600 operating worldwide. A 2020 G550 is 62 million. The average price is about 19 million, so the residual value is just above 30%. Values are trending downward. The bigger airplanes are losing value. Based upon the examples I've provided, then we will see the average residual value across the board is about 35% and in general rising. One of the reasons for the rise is because globally the inventory of available aircraft is very slowly dropping. In July 2009, there were 6,016 business jets, turboprops, and helicopters advertised for sale. This was the most ever in business aviation history, and it reflected 12% of the entire fleet up for sale at that time. Last month, April 2020, 4,549 aircraft were advertised for sale, which is equivalent to 7% of the entire fleet. The trend has shown that the inventory of available aircraft has been diminishing since the high in mid-2009. The highest average asking prices, business jets, turboprops, and helicopters all combined were at their highest in December 2008. The amalgam price, we use the term amalgam price, each at $4,900,000. Today, April 2020, it sits at $2,950,000 with a gradual upward trend. Lastly, all business aviation resale marketplace segments are down on sales transactions. This is the most telling thing. Jet transactions are currently indicating they are 50% down on 2019 numbers. We've got 537 transactions year to date this year versus 2,034 in 2019 at the same period. Turboprops 50% down, 328 year to date versus 1,232 last year. And helicopters 50% down, 263 year to date versus 909 last year, the same time last year. I believe this is partially because of the more than 2.5 month lockdown, but it's mainly because those that have their aircraft on the market for sale are now realizing that it might be better to hold and wait. But we'll see what the other guys have to say about this. So on COVID, I'm going to finish up my briefing on the effect of COVID-19 on values. I really have to state that I personally have not observed or recorded many significant drops in values due to coronavirus. I have, however, seen sporadic asking price drops, which are likely panic driven by sellers who are absolutely compelled to sell right now. I've been participating each week in Alistair White's corporate jet investor town hall meetings through their Crowdcast webinar service. We've been discussing aircraft sales and asset values, and about 500 people each week, including me, participate in these meetings. And the significant points resulting from these meetings regarding coronavirus is this, or as follows. This is a long-term event. Today's values are definitely affected by the coronavirus. Aircraft market has seen a 40% drop in value since the travel restrictions were introduced. And to get a transaction done today, the group consensus of the 500 people on the webinar is a price drop of between 10 and 25% is likely necessary to facilitate a quick close. Personally, I have not seen that, but that seems to be the consensus of opinion from the corporate jet investor meetings. Truly, it is my belief that business aviation, personal aviation will explode outward and upward after this period of isolation is over. No one with wealth will want to get back on the airlines. So that's basically it. So I'm going to hand it over to Pete. And if you got any questions, why don't you put them into chat. We should have, but I don't see it, a survey, which we will do at the end of this. Anyway, without further ado, Pete Sudicum, you have the floor.
Thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here and talk to all of you here in this great organization. So kind of get started on my background for those who aren't familiar with me. I've been flying and involved with airplanes since literally my early teens, flying my family's Cessna around. So I've been part of this community for close to 3 decades now, and I've known a lot of the same people over that period of time. I've worked about every job in aviation, from cleaning airplanes to line service to flight school dispatch to aircraft sales straight out of college, then transitioned to being a professional pilot, aircraft appraiser, back to starting my own company in aircraft sales, which is what I currently do now, with 2 companies, St. Louis Aircraft and another company called Jetstar with my partner, Justin Giesman. So I have 2 companies. We do 2 similar but different things. And I'll kind of wrap that up on my kind of bio as St. Louis Aircraft does everything from high-end piston aircraft through, turboprops and some jet segments. Jetstar focuses more on larger corporate airplanes and different, aircraft jet segments. So that's kind of my background in a nutshell. And so I see a lot of different price points, not just the higher end stuff or the lower end stuff. I see everything from low to high and in between. So I have a nice grasp on some different values in the marketplace. And so that's my general background.
Excellent.
Jeremy, you had a few questions, Jeremy?
How does this year compare to last year in transactions, Pete?
So it's, we're just coming out of this this pause, like you had mentioned. So we are obviously down in transactions due to the fact that basically March and the first part of April were essentially on hold. But number-wise, our biggest numbers of sales are in January and then also the fourth quarter. So the very end of the first quarter and the start of the second quarter were obviously affected in the number of sales, but we are seeing some makeup numbers right now of people who had stuff on pause, which is going to cause our second quarter to probably be stronger than traditionally is in terms of numbers.
Excellent. So you basically told us what's going on now. What are your predictions for the rest of the year and further post-COVID, during the tail end of COVID and post-COVID?
So, the good news is in March, anyone in this industry, in any industry, is super concerned about the future. In mid-April, our phone started ringing, and it was, not completely surprising, but it was a very positive thing to see. We've closed both piston and jet airplanes since, had a really good month of May, good month of April. My predictions for the rest of the year will involve I do have a positive outlook on people wanting to use airplanes to get back going, get their companies back going, their people moving. But it's all going to depend on my sense of it always follows the stock market, generally speaking. Values do, sales do, the market's up, our phone rings more. Certainly the progression of COVID-19 and what its numbers do in the United States, across the world, what they have in terms of any treatments, of course, and So those two factors, both our stock market and both the progression of COVID-19, and then also strictly inventory numbers. If inventory numbers remain the same or don't increase a lot from where they are now, I see values remaining pretty steady, and I do think people are going to buy aircraft, but it's all going to depend on those two big factors: that stock market and the progression of COVID-19.
Makes a lot of sense. Any other comments you care to make about the situation or what's going on with St. Louis aircraft sales or Jetstar?
Again, there are some good things coming out in 2020 with the CARES Act. So I'd encourage you to talk to your tax advisor and other things. There's a lot of ways that CARES Act is going to help sales, help companies justify, buying an airplane, replacing, upgrading an airplane in 2020 to help kind of regrow their business. So that's something I think people should look at. And, I'd encourage people to get out and use their airplane, rebuild the business, and also encourage others that aren't in business aviation to consider it in these times, because I think, obviously people have used corporate and business aviation for a long time to be leaders in their industry, and, looking at using it now to come out on top of this is something I would, strongly encourage, people to do.
That's perfect. For those that are watching this, participating, what's a brief overview of the CARES Act, and can anybody use the CARES Act, or is it restricted to corporate aviation?
The CARES Act, it covers many industries, many different things. I really advise people to talk to their tax counsel on that, of course, because everyone's situation is specific and different. But essentially it allows for, in business aviation, for certain circumstances, the ability to use depreciation this year and also carry it backwards. So if they don't need all the depreciation this year, they can carry it backwards to prior tax years.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes.
So Pete, how do people get in touch with you?
Two ways, two different companies, just stlair.com for St. Louis Aircraft, which we kind of refer to as STL Air. So, Peter at stlair.com is my email. So those are the easy way to get a hold of me there. Jetstar, same way. We have Peter at jetstar.aero, or of course, jetstar.aero is our website. And you can contact for Jetstar, Justin or I, and then of course, St. Louis Aircraft, me anytime. We're, based here at Spirit Airport, and, look forward to helping anyone, or just if you need a piece of friendly advice or, anything like that too, just feel free to reach out to us. This is what we do. It's what we love. And, we love being part of this community.
Pete, thank you very much indeed. You're going to stay on, but I'm going to bring Tom Kroll in now. And he's also at the Spirit of St. Louis Airport. I'm having problems with my mouse here. How do I do this? Let's see. Nope. Okay. I'm not sure how to do this. Okay. How's that? Nope. Don't want to do that. Well, Tom, go ahead. I'm trying to make you the full screen. And I'm
no problem. How's everybody doing today?
There you go.
All right, okay. Welcome to our first Zoom meeting. It's kind of interesting. I've not been through too many of these. I've watched a bunch of seminars. I've done one-on-ones, but not the group thing like this. Background on me, I've been involved in aviation since I was a kid. My dad started Jet Brokers in 1993. I joined them soon thereafter. Been running it since 1999. We sell 20 to 30 airplanes a year, as high as 40. We do everything from a Cessna 172 to a G550 so far. Haven't done a 650 yet, but we're working on that. And it's just kind of, this year has been interesting. Started out really, really busy in January and February, and then has slowed down. But what I'm finding interesting about it is we have a lot less inquiries, but the people inquiring are really serious buyers. You don't have the typical tire kickers that we have to deal with over the years. I don't think I've had a tire kicker in the last 2 months. A lot of people are coming out of the woodwork that owned airplanes or used to use them that don't want to get on airliners anymore. So there is that side of it that is going. Now, the other side of the industry that I see that worries me is the banks are getting in panic mode. Airplanes they own, they're fire sailing. And that's typical, of what happens. And bigger companies are having issues. And they're going to be, there are some fire sales out there. They're not hitting the public yet, and that's a good thing because that's what drives the market down. But it's kind of an interesting time for us.
So what are your predictions for the rest of the year and beyond?
I think, the inventory is building. I've been watching this. I know as far as Amtech goes, it's probably up 2 or 3% since February as far as the available aircraft for sale. Bigger aircraft are definitely on the weaker side. I'm seeing, the King Airs and the smaller and medium-sized jets. There's actually a little strength in those numbers. The fire sales I'm seeing are the large airplanes. Prediction-wise, I think we're going to have a boom at one point, but it's going to be, things always bounce. They rebound, up and down. We're going to have a boom once everything gets going, and then it's going to, then everything's going to step back a little bit. So the end of the year is probably my worry more than anything else. I think this summer, as long as things open up, we're going to have a lot going on.
Interesting. Yeah, you guys opened up last week, and Illinois opens up today, but it's phase 3 where you have to wear a mask wherever you go, and you can dine outside but not inside the restaurant. And I'm not quite sure how you're going to eat with a mask on, but still, I haven't figured
I
that
wonder
out.
that too.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say? Any thoughts, comments?
Well, just going over, Pete said a lot of it. The CARES Act, basically what that does is you can go back to 2015 and claim taxes you paid by the depreciation, and it's for any equipment that you buy. If you buy a tractor, you can do that, but airplanes are equipment. So that's what that comes in, and that will help us because there are people that will look at that and they'll buy an airplane because they can collect their taxes back from a couple of years ago. It goes back to 2015 and moves forward. I'm not sure why they did it that way, but that's how I understand it's set up. I'm looking at your list of questions here to see if there's anything else. Right now we have a couple airplanes in pre-buy, and it's odd because we can't go there. And I'm curious how Westar's handling that with people showing up and consultants and mechanics and all that. I was trying to get to Salt Lake City, and it's almost impossible right now. So that's the other side of it. The airline service is getting worse and worse, and it's going to rebound very slowly. And that's going to help charter, which will help aircraft.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Value-wise, we are losing value on the bigger ones. 10 to 25%. I don't know if it's that much yet, but the banks will hear that and they'll discount something 25% to get rid of it, which is, somebody will get a good deal.
Yeah, I saw that recently, 2 weeks ago with that G650.
Yeah.
That the bank owns. They just dropped it instantly, like $10 million, which is not good for the market. But that's the typical reaction of these great banks. They panic.
It's the market too. You really can't control it too much. You do that if it doesn't sell right away, they didn't drop it enough.
Right.
Kind of we don't have too much control over what happens with the market. But it's big enough and fluid enough that it doesn't get affected that much. Looking at your questions here, they're on the side. I didn't put them up on top like you did. I've been see if there's anything else I need to, or you can ask me if I have anything else I need to do. Predictions. It's going to take a while to get through this, and overall the prices will go down over the next year. Yeah. But there's going to be a lot of new people enter the market, and there's going to be a lot of people that have to leave because they don't have any money left.
Do you think the older jets, the dinosaur jets, are going to have a resurgence with this fresh blood coming into the industry, maybe?
I think they're going to, some people will buy those because, they're going to fly 100 hours a year. Why have a $5 million airplane sitting in some place when you can have a $500,000 airplane that'll fly you to Florida and back just as easily? But I don't see them coming, a resurgent where they're going to start gaining in value again. They're only going to get worse and worse until they go away. We're not going to see values climb. They've built too many airplanes over the past 10, 15 years, and it's just that was a supply and demand thing back in the 90s. Prices would go up because you couldn't find an airplane.
that makes sense.
We were working with a customer in the late 90s buying a Citation 3. There were 3 available. They built over 200 of them. There was only 3 of them available. So now there's probably 40. And all the airplanes are in that mode too. So you don't have that lack of supply that you used to have.
So how do people get in touch with you, Tom?
You can call me 636-532-6900. You can call my cell 636-751-3985. Email me. The shortcut is tj@jetbrokers.com, or go to jetbrokers.com and all my info's there.
Perfect. Thank you very much indeed,
You're welcome.
Tom. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeremy, for putting it together.
Of course. Hopefully we'll do more of these. And we do have a polling. If you look down the bottom, there is a poll, but that wait until the end of the webinar to actually vote. But anyway, we're going to go to Jim Swaler at Westar, and Jim's going to talk about pre-buys and what he's seeing out there. Jim, you're muted, unfortunately.
Jeremy, quickly before Jim gets started, there are some questions in chat. Do you want to take those as they come, or hold those for the end?
Why don't we hold those to the end and get through this, and then we can go to the questions. I think that makes more sense. It's the way most of these that I've participated in happen. So if that's okay, you got anything else, Tim?
No, just wanted to make sure you saw those questions coming up on chat.
Thank you very much. Jim.
Okay. All right. I'm trying here. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you perfectly. So Jim's sharing his screen. There you go.
All right, there we go. Okay, all right. So I'll start off here by introducing myself. I'm Jim Swela, and I've had very few jobs in the industry. I started back in 1973 out of A&P school for the company up in Springfield, Illinois, which was Capital Aviation at the time. Maybe better known today as Standard Aero. I spent 30 years there. And then after the 30-year time period, I left there and went with Westar Aviation. And I've been with them now about 18 years. So basically, I've only had 2 jobs in the industry throughout my career. As far as Jeremy contacted me here a short time ago, wanted me to give a presentation in regards to pre-buys and what we're seeing right now in regards to pre-buys. So I'd like to start out with the COVID situation and the fact that 2 months ago, approximately 2 months ago, the coronavirus or the COVID-19 basically hit us overnight. It's like flipping a light switch. And as you well know, it's had a negative effect on everybody in virtually the entire world, not only socially, but personally and also business-wise. And so it's changed our business overnight. And we've had to change how we do things and have not gone through anything like this before. So it's been a very interesting 2 or 3 month time period. So we were very fortunate being in the MRO business that we're considered an essential business. So we do maintenance for the air transportation business, and as a result of that, in Illinois and Colorado and Tennessee and also Missouri, we're able to stay open, but we've had to change drastically how we conduct business. And one of the very first things that we encountered was the fact that, hey, we're going to have to all wear face masks. And 2 months ago, you couldn't beg, borrow, or steal a face mask because everybody was out after them. So we had to make our own, and we put our interior shops to work. And they worked around the clock for 2 or 3 days to fabricate face masks for every one of our employees and customers that came to see us. So you see a photograph there of a lady in the upholstery shop making a face mask and one of our technicians actually wearing a face mask. So along with that, we had to change several things within our organization as far as social distancing and trying to keep, 6 feet apart from each other. That was very difficult to do, but we're doing the best we can. So then, along with the face masks that we have to wear, we check every employee's temperature every day before they enter the hangar, and anybody that's has a high temperature, we send them home. So fortunately, over the past 2-month time period, we haven't had anybody test positive for COVID-19, and we feel very fortunate that we've been able to keep our 1,500 people going and keep them working.
That's great. That's great news.
So that's, we've got, customers that come in the hangar, we check their temperature, give them a face mask. And so it's been very positive, and we feel very, very fortunate.
You guys are somewhat of an exception. I had a G5 I was supposed to have appraised in the Gulfstream facility here in town, and 3 days before I was scheduled to go in, they were going to take my temperature and I had to wear a mask. They pulled the plug on any outside visitors, and it made it impossible. So
Yeah.
you are an exception. It's great, and you've had no infections. There you go.
Yeah. So along with that, we've had shift schedule changes where we have more shifts now. So that way we don't have as many people together. They're spread out over a 24-hour time period and throughout the week and throughout the weekend. So apparently that has helped us also. And then all of our, and I don't like this term, but this is the term that's being used, is all of our non-essential employees are working remotely at home. Like our regional sales managers, technical sales managers, our accounting people, HR people, purchasing people. So we've got fewer people in the facility and trying to conduct business the best we can remotely.
Great.
So then along with that, we're trying to keep our employees restricted within a certain hangar. So they're not moving around from hangar to hangar, and we've got them in pods of 5 or 6 people. So that if one of them would happen to get sick in a pod, it's only, then we can target on the 5 or 6 people in that pod. So then we have runners between the hangars to actually deliver parts and tooling and equipment. And so then that way you don't have people, moving back and forth, between hangars. So it looks like, all that has helped, and we've been able to keep everybody feeling good. Nobody's gotten sick, and nobody's tested positive for the COVID-19.
Congratulations for that.
Yeah.
That's quite a feat, isn't it? It's not the case with other companies I know of. So can we go to the topic of pre-buys, Jim?
We can.
How does the activity this year compare to last year?
Well, what I was going to do here is I was just going to go through tech eval, but I might just skip across that. I mean, that's kind of like, preaching to the choir here about tech evals. But one of the things I did want to say is that, each pre-buy or tech eval is different. I mean, every aircraft is different, every sales transaction is different, every buyer is different, every seller is different. And so I just want to let the audience here know that even though, Westar's got like a standard pre-buy, we can custom tailor it, depending on the situation, depending on the customer, depending on the purchase transaction. So when Jeremy called me and says, "Hey, I'd like to have you talk about pre-buys," just coincidentally, I started tracking our pre-buys back several years ago, and I went back and I dug into the archives just to show the pre-buy activity over the past several years. So back in 2011, you can see the number back then, and it's been a steady increase at Westar. It's probably very similar to our competitors. I mean, I'm sure Duncan Aviation's numbers look very similar in Standard Aeros. And there's been a growth, over the past several years of pre-buys. And then when the election hit in 2016 and Trump changed the tax laws, then in 2017, 18, and 19, we saw a significant jump in our pre-buy activity. So the numbers that we're mainly concerned with right now, today, we're not interested in past numbers, but we're interested in what's going on right now. And so if you look at this chart, the average per month from 2011 has gone from 6.25 pre-buys per month at Westar and increased up to 13.5 in 2019. We finished up in 2019 almost 13.5 pre-buys per month. And in 2020 now, we've dropped back down to six pre-buys. And that's just a short time period. It's only a matter of 4 months. And typically the first quarter is the slowest period. And it doesn't really show it on this chart, but the first quarter is typically the slowest period, and the fourth quarter is usually the strongest period. So if the trend remains the same, which I don't think it's going to, I think that after we get through, and see some positive signs here of this COVID-19, that aircraft sales are going to jump substantially. But let's say that they didn't, and the trend remained the same, 2020 would not look so good. And you can see the number there on the chart. It's not a very good number, but my prediction is that it's not going to look like that. It's going to be a very strong aircraft sales activity after we start getting through this COVID-19. But for right now, this is what it looks like.
So just to clarify, the trend projection on your bar chart you're showing shows about a 60% decrease in activity that is trending at the moment.
Yeah,
but
right.
Just
based on the first 3 months. Now in April, the first 3 months we've averaged 6.25 deliveries. In April, we had 0 deliveries, 0. So that doesn't help the averages.
Right.
However, we've got several pre-buys sitting at the facilities right now that are going to deliver over the next month or two. So, and then like I say, and you guys are the experts on this because you deal in, aircraft sales, and that's what you live and breathe. But I think, I agree with everybody else on the panel here that I think things are going to really pick back up again here in a very short time period. And our pre-buy activity is going to escalate in aircraft sales. I think anybody that has the money to go out and buy a corporate aircraft that doesn't have one will now buy one versus riding on the airline. So I think that the pre-buy number is going to increase, but this is just a snapshot as of today. And, tomorrow is going to be a different day, and next week and next month. And I think that the activity is going to increase. But if we just took a snapshot as of today, this is what the rest of the year would look like if nothing else changed. which I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, I feel it's going to be very positive, a very positive increase.
That's interesting. So when you look at your trend and your record so far, 2020 due to COVID, as you identified earlier, you're not the only player out in the world doing pre-buys, but you're one of the main players for certain. So by aggregate numbers, if you looked at your competitors, then it probably reflects what I've been seeing reported by Amstat, the number of transactions. Transactions are down about 50% due to COVID. So pre-buys are probably down by 50% due to COVID,
Yeah.
which kind of makes sense. Interesting. Jim, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I really don't, other than the fact that all of our hangar facilities are extremely busy. And the reason for that, and what we've heard from the marketplace, from our customers, is the fact that, you know, over the last couple of months here, everybody's flying is just like almost gone to zero. And they felt that, hey, that's a great time period to get work done. So they've moved their airplanes from their hangars over to our hangar, and we're catching up on maintenance and you know, doing some interior work and catching up on things, so that when the flying does pick up, they've got their aircraft available, and then they're not sitting, you know, down for maintenance. So, you know, you would think right now that the hangars would be low on airplanes, but that's not the case. At least West Star is busy, and we hope that continues. And the main reason we are busy is because I think that, you know, anybody with an airplane is looking out there right now and saying, hey, you know, I want to have this work done before, you know, we start flying again. So I guess that's what I wanted to add to the conversation here, is that I don't know, it's been a plus, but it's been really a struggle, because we've really had to change how we do business, and we want to keep all of our employees safe and keep our customers safe, and any vendors, we're keeping vendors to a minimum, but we want to keep everybody safe.
That makes sense. No, I've got two questions for you, but the first one is specific. The second one is, how do people get in touch with you? But the first question really is, and this also kind of answers a question from Roger, our outgoing president of GSLBAA. He said, what can an airplane owner do to increase value, small piston, larger aircraft, turbine aircraft? We'll get to that question in a minute, those questions, Roger, but he asked, does CARES affect capital improvements? And we all know it does. So how much has the CARES Act brought extra business to you? I'm just curious. That's my question.
How much extra business has it brought to us?
Yeah, I mean, people doing bigger mods, you know, winglets.
Well, okay, that's the thing. It hasn't brought extra, not what I see. I mean, we're not seeing the huge mod projects because the aircraft pre-buy business is down, and that's a lot of times that's what brings us these big packages. Is somebody goes out and buys an airplane, and hey, they're going to do a big package. So what we're seeing is, we're seeing the smaller stuff. We're seeing more airplanes with smaller projects. We're not seeing the big, you know, the big $2 million interior projects, or, you know, we're not installing winglets, and we're not doing big avionics packages, but we're doing a lot of smaller stuff. If you get what I mean.
That's interesting. Interesting. Thank you very much for answering that. All right. So how do people get in touch with you, Jim? You want to unshare your screen so people can see you again?
All right.
And then tell everyone how they can get in touch with you.
Okay. I'll give you my cell phone number. It's area code 618-616-7083. That's 618-616-7083. And then my email address is jswehla, that's JSWEHLA @wsa.aero, AERO. Oh, and by the way, I haven't had a haircut in 3 months. I've got an appointment next week, so I'm going to get a haircut
I
next
got
week.
one yesterday.
All right.
I could see the writing on the wall, so I went out and bought, as everybody, it seems to me that the only place you buy anything from now is Amazon. I bought a hair clipper set, and my wife cuts my hair every 5 weeks now, down to nothing, as you can see, and I like it. So anyway, Jim, thank you very
I got
much.
one more thing to add here. I live in Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, and in Illinois right now, it's still a stay-at-home, and everything's pretty much locked down. They are opening up the restaurants to outdoor serving only, and anywhere you go, you have to wear a face mask. So that's in Illinois, and just across the border, I'm down at the Lake of the Ozarks right now, and it's wide open down here. It's interesting than just a few miles distance, but it's so different. It's a little bit scary, to be honest. I mean, I don't know as Missouri should be wide open, but then I don't agree that Illinois should be totally locked down either. So it's a very interesting time, and I praise everybody for the creative ideas that they've come up with during this time period to continue doing business. And I wish everybody good luck, and that they continue to be successful.
That's great. Great parting thoughts, Jim. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to move to questions. And before we move to questions, I just want to point out to everybody that's attending this webinar, we invited more people than have spoken today. We reached out to Spirit Jets, but unfortunately they're busy and we're unable to make the webinar. Scott Ritchie, the Ritchie Group, is down in Little Rock taking delivery of an airplane today. And we had Gary Anzalone from Equus Global, and he's got an issue with his mom, so it's unfortunate. But I want you all to understand the reason we've picked the speakers that we did to speak today is because they're all members of the Greater St. Louis Business Aviation Association. It's a St. Louis association. Therefore, it's important for us to all gather together and have this virtual meeting to stay in contact with each other. But it's important for you to get to know the people that are members, that are local, that can provide you with services that pertain to airplane sales. So that's the reason we've picked the people that we have. I just wanted to point that out. We are going to move to questions now. So I think basically I'll read the question and we'll go one by one with responses, if that's okay with you guys. So I've got a question here from Carmelo. It says, how is the aircraft insurance industry reacting to the current conditions, and will they be a major factor, good, bad, in the strength of the non-airline aviation acquisition growth this year? So anyone care to weigh in on the insurance side of the business and how COVID's affecting them?
Not seen it yet on that.
Jeremy, I could mention something if I'm live on the mic here.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
I have too early to tell on any kind of premium decreases, increases that I've heard from different customers. Of course, many people had a large increase in 2019, early 2020 on all premiums and conditions on how they operated airplanes. So don't have any input on changes on that. It's way too soon to know. But the only thing I wanted to say on insurance is I have many contacts, colleagues, friends in that business, and they all said they are busy with getting new inquiries on people considering purchases. So that is one positive on the insurance industry that I could note. That doesn't mean they're specifically going to buy an airplane this minute, but it means they're thinking about it. So I think that's a positive note.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Anyone else care to tackle it? All right. So hopefully we've kind of answered your question, Carmelo. And Roger had those questions, Roger Molman. What can an airplane owner do to increase value? I'll take that one off the bat, and that is keep your logbooks locked up in a fireproof, waterproof safe. Keep your aircraft inside a hangar. Wash it, clean it, vacuum it regularly, and well, basically, don't be the first on any special mod, or you know, don't take a well, I think you've got an SR-21 or a 22. Don't take the biplane mod. Don't be the first in line for that, Roger, because that'll devalue your airplane. Always be like number 15 or 20 along the line for a new mod. And keep the airplane maintained so it maintains its value. And if there are things that seems to be a general addition to the fleet that is a modification and improvement, and it does increase value, but there's a large number of participating owners that are getting that mod, then do it, because you'll be left behind and the value of your airplane will go down. Anyone else care to weigh in on Roger's question?
I was going to say, you just hit every one of my points, Jeremy.
I'm sorry, Tom.
No, that's great. No, you're exactly right.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So anyone else care to weigh in, or we move on to the next question?
Same
right.
thing as Tom and you said, Jeremy. Just if you need touch-up paint, get the touch-up paint done. Don't wait till a pre-buy. If you need your interior seats conditioned, get them conditioned. Those small little things go a long, long way in any market, not just now, in any market.
I always tell people, do that all the time and enjoy it rather than try and clean it up to sell it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and in fact, this is kind of in Jim's department, but I'm going to throw this out as well. It just occurred to me that it makes sense. I tell this to people a lot, that it's better for you to find the issues in your hangar under your control than taking it out for pre-buy and letting those issues you didn't know about get discovered outside of your control and with other people. So it's better to find your problems and fix them before you get to Jim's hangar, before he finds them. and the buyer makes you fix them.
Yeah,
right, Jim?
That was a good point that someone just made about, hey, do it now so you can enjoy it. I mean, just don't do it for the person buying the airplane. I mean, you get some value out of it too.
Exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly right. All right. Rick Smith with Guardian Jet is weighed in. He actually prepared a market update yesterday, and he's happy to share it. Rick, you're not a GSLBAA member, so we don't have you as a panelist, but if you want to add in the message board here how people can get in touch with you, they can email you and ask you for your market update. So why don't you type that in? All right, Brett at Wings of Hope has a question for you, Jim, in fact. Do you believe that lift aircraft sales will follow similar trends as corporate pre-buys and purchases and light aircraft? So he's asking about lift aircraft trends as well as corporate pre-buys and purchases, as well as light aircraft.
I believe he meant light aircraft, not lift.
Oh, maybe it's light. Yeah, okay, maybe it's light.
It makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Question for you, Jim. Care to answer it? Or is it outside of your purview?
Light aircraft meaning what does that mean?
I think it's below 12.5. I think it's kind of airplanes that Brett deals with at Wings of Hope, to be honest. I mean, his sweet spot's the Cessna 206 type airplane, I think.
Well, my response would only be an opinion. I think that the heavier aircraft are going to be the ones that are going to take off more than the light aircraft. But that's only an opinion. And the heavier, longer range airplanes, because and I compare those airplanes to the airline. If somebody's going to be making a trip from, that makes trips from Chicago to LA. They're going to, the heavier corporate aircrafts are going to be the ones that are going to sell the most versus a light aircraft, because those are going to be the people that are going to be buying airplanes.
That makes sense. Anyone else?
That's only an opinion.
Anyone else care to weigh in on Brett's question? Below 12 flight airplanes?
We've actually been noticing a lot of interest in the light aircraft we have, more so, and that's probably where the heaviest interest is coming from, because right now it's difficult to get any place via airlines. And again, people don't want to be on the airlines, and everybody's feeling that way. We have, you know, a few piston singles and twins for sale, and seriously, it's tons of phone calls, offers. It's actually been one of the hottest parts of the market we saw. So I think there's going to be a little bit of everywhere you're going to see increased activity.
That makes sense. That makes sense. We got more questions coming in. I'm looking at the time. We've been at this for an hour. I think we probably will pull the plug in about 15 minutes. So if you've got, this is kind of a last call for any chat questions that attendees might have, but we'll move on. So the question from Carmelo is, what sector will lead the growth of the aviation industry considering the post-COVID air carrier service decline? So that's a good question, I think. So anyone care to take that?
Similar to what Tom just said, what I saw when our phones started ringing in mid-April was high-end piston airplanes started to move, and those were individuals who had business interests, personal interests across the country that said, hey, I need to get places. And whether or not it was a airline related decision is besides the point. It was, you know, that segment was what we saw start with the phone calls, and then followed by the light jets, and it's moving towards our higher end listings. But it did start, in our experience, with that high-end piston airplanes, which I feel is probably a logical, you know, trend. It starts with that and it grows its way up. And I think you'll see, you know, a lot of that new entry into the market will start in like a, you know, TBM type airplane, CJ type airplane, maybe a less expensive beach jet type airplane, and then grow its way back up into our larger segments.
Makes all the sense in the world. All right, I think we've actually gone through all the questions. So any parting thoughts? Oh yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Just want to drop in very quickly and tell everyone thank you for joining this first meeting. We would like to get some feedback from you. If you go to the GSLBAA website and hit the contact tab, you'll have email addresses for all of us that are on the board, myself, Jeremy, our admin, Amy Zambrano. Please email us some questions, comments, suggestions to improve these meetings going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Before we go to parting thoughts from everybody, I've actually made the poll live, and I see people are voting now, which is great. Basically, did you like this event? And there's 3 questions. So if you could, before you log out, just hit the poll, so we've got some feedback from it. And Tim, we've had your parting thoughts. We'll go back in reverse order. Jim, do you have any parting thoughts you want to leave before we say goodbye?
No, not really. I mean, I just, like I say, it's a very challenging time. I've never seen a time period like this. I mean, even back in 2008 and 9, I mean, that was a tough era too. But nothing like this. I mean, this just hit us like overnight, and it's tough to even have a prediction here. You know, it looks like the coronavirus is it's starting a downward trend, and I just hope that it doesn't go back the other way. But that's there again. We don't have a crystal ball to know where we're headed, but I just wish everybody good luck in the future. And we got a bunch of smart people in this industry, and if anybody can make it, we can do it. So good luck to everybody.
Here, 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 here. Tom, parting thoughts?
This kind of does remind me of '09 with the economic downturn, but that was such a significant financial hit where, you know, we had trillions of dollars disappear overnight. This is more of a temporary thing where the economy was not hurting. People haven't spent money, so spending's down. There's going to be a blip in it, but I don't see it as deep or as long as the last downturn. I would say by next year, this time, I think we'll be back to pretty much normal.
I think every one of us hopes for that to be true. And I personally, I think you're right. Pete, parting thoughts?
I agree with everyone there. I think we have to pay very, very close attention to how things progress. I'm optimistic. I do encourage, related to the St. Louis community, we have a great, great group of people here. Other brokers, dealers, maintenance, charter, everything. In St. Louis, consider your home team too. There's great people across the country, but consider who and what is right here in our hometown. And I think things will be up and down the rest of the year. But I do think this is different, like Tom mentioned, from '09, similar in some ways, but different in other ways. We came in very, very strong in our economy. And, you know, I think we'll slowly but surely get our way back to a good industry.
That's great. I think we all share the same views. Absolutely. My parting thought is I hope this lockdown ends very, very soon. I hope that everyone can go back to their businesses to put bread on the table and to further their endeavors and their successes. I think this has been absolutely excruciatingly crushing to all of us, both mentally and financially. But fortunately, aviation as an industry is bigger than us each individually, and there have been challenges, but it seems to me that business aviation and general aviation have fared this fairly well, but not so the case for the airline side of the industry. I think they're absolutely decimated, and I think with our parting points of view that we've all expressed here today about recovery being very, very quick, which I share that opinion. I think it will be quick. I think conversely on the airline side, which has been voiced by all of us also, is it's just not going to come back that quickly. It's really deeply more, I won't say mortally hurt them, but it's hurt them to the point where I think they're set back 2 or 3 years. And I hate to take advantage of a wounded situation, but now is the time, if you're in business and general aviation and you are encouraging fresh blood, new people into the industry, now is the time, because quite frankly, they won't be able to go to the places and do the things that they want to do with the airlines alone. It's just not possible. So with that, that's my parting thoughts. Hopefully we'll do this again. The poll has been running. I'm going to end it now, but there were 3 questions. Did you like this event, meaning the webinar? And we've got 14% voted neutral, 0% voted did not like it at all. So fortunately, everybody liked it. And 86% of you say very much indeed you liked it. So I think we'll be doing this again sometime. So without further much ado, I'm going to say thank you all very much indeed, and enjoy your weekend. And this will be going up on the website at some point, so anyone could come in and see it. But let me just do a quick check of chats. Let's see, anything else? Nope. Just thank you. So thank you very much, all of you. Have a great
weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.